Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of the Recce Report. I'm your co-host Russ, former British Army warrant officer.
Good evening, folks. I'm the other co-host, former British Army Corporal Cliff, and it's great to be back.
It is. Sadly, we sorry for those that missed us last month. We had some stuff going on and couldn't make it, unfortunately. But welcome to our Remembrance Weekend special for a wrap up of the nice, quiet, serene, respectful weekend that we've just had.
Yeah, Russ, it was on the build up to that weekend, very much like reading a George Orwell novel.
Honestly, just to let the viewers know, usually what happens is Cliff and I will get together the day before this to go through what's been happening over the last few weeks and what we need to talk about. And it's normally a sort of 30-minute conversation. This week it was 20 seconds. It was like remembrance. That's all we've got to talk about today. That's all we have to talk about today. So we went to bed last night thinking, we're going to talk about his remembrance, and then the government decided to have a reshuffle this morning. So we've got two things to talk about.
Where do you start, Russ? Well, let's keep on.
Hashbury, I hope you're talking about the George Orwell Animal Farm there, and not the other one. But at least said about that one.
Yeah, right, Russ. I believe you wanted to start off with the remembrance fiasco.
It is. It's the same every year. Well, I say it's the same every year. The lead up is the same every year. We have the poppy police are out in force. You've got the wrong poppy. You're not wearing your poppy. You've got your wreath upside down, as Stephen Flynn is accused of having.
Don't the people that do these accusations actually read up on what they're actually trying to preserve here? Because that was a Scottish wreath.
Yeah, it absolutely was. No, they don't get it. And then obviously we had the whole last week was the hate marches, as Cruella described them, who were going to be nowhere near the cenotaph. It would never plan to go anywhere near the cenotaph, but it riled up certain individuals in the country who descended en masse. The guardians of the statues, the cenotaph warriors who all rocked up, and we've seen it. And we've seen it on the news, and we've seen Tommy Robinson getting Stephen Yaxley Lennon getting his ugly mug in there, and then it all kicking off.
Yeah.
To absolutely no shock or surprise from this call sign whatsoever. It was obvious that was going to happen.
Yeah, and it was orchestrated. I think Braverman knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly what she was saying, and she knew exactly what the response would be. She wanted disorder, so then she could turn round, and in my opinion, she would then start to do further clampdowns on people's civil liberties.
Yeah, and I think what she was expecting, probably because this is how she operates, was that the police wouldn't do their job very well, which they did. I'm not a big fan of heavy-handed policing, but the police did really well, and that there would be confrontations between the pro-Palestinian mob and the faux patriots, if you want to call them that, and it would have been an excuse then to clamp down even further on civil liberties in this country. And the shocking thing for me is, we both belong to various veterans groups and unit pages and things. Is the amount of people, certainly that used to wear the uniform we did, that kind of support that right-wing rhetoric, and it's quite scary, really. It absolutely is.
Sometimes I think the military does actually support more right-wing people than we would probably care to think about. they'd probably be the people we wouldn't actually speak to or pay much attention to whilst we served, because of their views, But
maybe.
yeah, I just couldn't sort of get my head around this, because the head chap at the Western Front Alliance, who do hold Armistice Day parade at the Cenotaph, so that's on the 11th.
Yeah.
He came out straight away and says, "Look, let them march. They're nowhere near us." But that wasn't good enough, and you had that shocking, absolutely shocking Daily Mail headline, just stirring up the hatred, and this is what the right wing are doing. And folks, this is how easy it happened in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all sit back and think we're so morally great and brilliant at things these days because we're a few more decades down the road than 1933 Germany. Yeah. But what we're getting here is exactly the same stuff that was coming out from the Nazi Party on their way to suspending democracy, suspending civil liberties. And this is what we are facing. And to have someone in the wings like Keir Starmer, a belted knight, if people are going to think, right, all we've got to do is make it through to the next general election and things will change. Well, folks, they will not change. The only way they'll change in Scotland is if we vote for independence. That's the only way it's going to change. Because if not, all Keir Starmer has done is moved into the ground that the Conservative and Unionist Party have vacated, as they've morphed into the Fascist Party of the UK.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah,
Russ,
absolutely. No, you're right, mate. And if you look back, if you Google is your friend. If you look back at the BNP policies, the National Front policies from the 1970s, these are exactly the policies that today's Tory party is embracing. That aspect of just demonizing immigrants and refugees. It's the Tory way to pick on the poor, the weary, the disenfranchised, because it makes people feel better about them. It's the old bread and circuses thing. It's distraction. It absolutely is, and it scares me. And it should scare everyone, because this is how it started. In the 1920s, Hitler was laughed at and locked up.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, he's back, and suddenly it's like, oh yeah, that nice guy's got some good ideas.
Yep.
And it's absolutely ridiculous. And I see it on social media. Tommy Robinson's he's a Nazi, and people are like, what's he done? Please, it's what they call sea lining, is that make you explain exactly what you mean by that. And they're like, mate, have you been blind for these past few years? You can't see. I've got a simple question, a simple statement for people, right? And this applies across the board, I think, right? If you find yourself agreeing with people who are on the opposite side of the political spectrum from you, so if you consider yourself maybe a liberal or a socialist or a Scottish nationalist, and you find yourself agreeing with people on one specific area, but they're on the right wing, then maybe, just maybe, you're not on the right side of that issue.
Yeah, and you've explained that one to me before, and it's absolutely fantastic. Of course, because where then do people then start to draw the line, of being good people again, if you want to word it that way. But the demonization, we've seen it the last 13 years. In fact, we've seen it in the Blair administration. We've seen Gordon Brown was at it, and now obviously Cameron picked it up. Not so much with Clegg as his 2IC, but certainly when he got his majority, then dropped the Liberal Democrats like they were a hot brick. Then they went into demonizing, and they have always demonized it. If you think about back to it used to be the unmarried single parents living on the council estates. They were the problem. They were the reason that we weren't getting enough hospitals built, because they were soaking up all the welfare money. Yeah, and then that's no longer good enough because the EU were then the problem. It was the EU technocrats. The fact that we have more bureaucrats in the MOD than there is in the whole of the EU administration just seems to pass certain people by. But then now we're no longer part of the EU. They've got to focus on something else, and it is the asylum seekers, the refugees coming in. And remember, in the European Convention of Human Rights, it does not say anything about them having to stop at the first country that they come into. Yeah, but
no,
it does.
No. Yeah. That was the Dublin Agreement. The Dublin Agreement, I believe.
Yeah.
So that was it was an agreement between the EU states that actually that with immigration that that they could be returned. Don't quote me on the Dublin Agreement. It's called the something agreement, but they'd be returned to the first safe country. So
right.
so if somebody turned up in France and they'd gone through Belgium, they should be returned to Belgium. But that was an EU agreement.
Yeah.
Which all these idiots voted to leave. It doesn't apply anymore.
Yeah.
It was never an international law. The UN Convention on Refugees is that refugees can claim asylum in any country where they feel safe.
Yeah.
So they don't have to. And as somebody pointed out, we don't get an exemption to that just because we happen to be an island off of Europe. You don't get geography doesn't get to dictate that people can't claim asylum here.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as an illegal asylum seeker.
No, not at all.
Right,
but this is the phraseology they like to use.
Yeah.
And again, it was there. It was so stark during the lead up to, when did it become a Remembrance Weekend?
Yeah, it's not something that does anyone remember? Does anyone remember that being a Remembrance Weekend? I always remember having the 2-minute silence on the 11th. That was always a thing.
Yeah.
But then Remembrance, you'd have this festival Remembrance that the night before Remembrance Day, wouldn't you? That was always a thing. And then you'd have Remembrance Sunday. When did it become? Well, right. I mean, I've been on this planet a fair few years, right? So there must have been some point in my history when the 11th was a Saturday and the 12th was a Sunday.
Yes.
Right. And this is the first time I ever remember people talking about a Remembrance Weekend.
It's exactly the same. And I've been on the planet a little bit longer than yourself, buddy. And I can't ever remember it being a Remembrance Weekend. It's always been as you laid it out there, the 11th, whenever that was. You do your silence there. Then the Festival of Remembrance from the Albert Hall the night before, and then into Remembrance Sunday. So they just like extending it. Are we going for Remembrance Month next?
And it's a con, mate, because once Remembrance Weekend days been and gone, they'll stop giving a shit about the veterans again.
Yeah, as they do.
It's a photo op. It absolutely is.
As they have done.
Do not give us stuff.
Yeah, as they have done every single November the 13th since Remembrance Sunday started.
I know, mate.
We had the, of course, the lead up. We had the so-called attacks on poppy sellers in the train station.
Yeah, never happened.
Didn't happen. Yeah, not a. Partly one of the stations was Edinburgh, Waverley station. Apparently. And of course, the transport police are sitting there going, no, we have really looked at the videos of this and nothing happened.
There was none. And it might have been, and I don't know, I mean, the guy might have been a genuine veteran. I don't know. It might have been fabricated by the media. That happens. But I think it appeared in one newspaper initially, and then it was picked up by all the rest. So it just shows you. There was I picked up straight away the article in the paper. It said he'd served in Northern Ireland with 32 Signal Regiment. And straight away I was like, but 32 Signal Regiment's a reserve unit, TA unit. TA never served in Northern Ireland. It wasn't allowed.
No, it was the one big thing across there. Because the TA that live in Northern Ireland were never ever targets.
That's right, mate. Yeah,
the vehicles used to kick about with huge big signs on them. Territorial Army. Yeah.
I mean, there was ways round that. There was ways around that, and that people could sign up for a short term, what they call an S type.
But then they've gone regular.
So they technically be regular, but so he might have done the tour of Northern Ireland, but definitely not with 32 Signal Regiment, because they're a TA regiment based in Glasgow and Edinburgh. And then also there's the pictures of him wearing both a Paraberry with para Reg wings and the Signals berry. So he might have done. He might have transferred from the Paras to the Signals, or the Signals to the Paras, or he might just be a reservist. Yeah. He was wearing a Royal British Legion Riders gear.
Right.
There's the sort of motorcycle club, but I don't know. But there was too many questions, and he's strangely silent from the groups that we are members of, where I would have expected someone to say, "Oh yeah, I know him."
Right. That has popped up more questions than we have answers for at this moment. So again, if there's anybody out there that does know this character and can vouch for him, could you let us know? Because it would be good to put this one to bed one way or the other. Certainly, the incident did not happen.
And I said that at the time. If it happened, it's disgraceful, and the people that did it should be brought to justice. Yeah. I do not condone that in any way, shape, or form. A lot of these people that are out there doing the poppies they're elderly. They're doing this in the goodness of their heart. They've got nothing to do. Their politics are probably steeped in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s. Don't have a go at them. But don't lie. But that's the media. That's what the media do. They stir up all this divisiveness. Yeah. It's part of that aspect we spoke about before about the rise of fascism, which is the glorification of the military. Yes. Which is what this is. Which is what the whole poppy thing is. There's a really good Twitter account, if you find it, called Poppy Watch, where the pictures of poppies slapped on tanks and guns and post boxes and really bad garden displays. I can recommend it. Remembrance Weekend. So I was going to say, I joined the army, right, 37 and a half years ago, right? I've worn a poppy for 36 and a half of those years.
All right. And
this year I was like, no. Because they've taken it.
Yeah.
It's been co-opted. It's been co-opted by politicians, by the right wing. I mean, you see a picture of a guy with a swastika tattoo wearing a poppy. What the bloody hell is going on there?
Yeah. There's a bit of mixed messaging going on there.
Yeah.
And then of course the hang on, it's about to get deployed.
Gonna swear. Beep.
Yeah. Rear end turns around and says he's a patriot. Yeah. No, you're not. You're a thug. You're a football thug. You go out and you get bevied up. You go and watch a football game, and then if your team loses, you go out and you start beating up those you perceive to be weak or different from you. And that message that came out that for the football lads or whatever it was over the weekend there, and the veterans have reached out to us and want us at the cenotaph to back them up.
Yeah.
I don't know any veteran that wants a thug watching his six. You know what I mean?
You've seen them, mate. Yeah, you seen them. You seen them being. It's the mob mentality,
right?
And the thing is, when you get that, when you get those people in one place, and a lot of people don't realize this, when riots happen, riots aren't organized, all right? What happens is it kicks off, and then people just turn, and it's no rhyme or reason. I've seen sweet grey-haired old grannies trying to rip out a copper's throat with their teeth because the riot, it's like that red mist goes down and everybody's just kicking off. And these are people that the day before wouldn't have dreamed of doing such a thing.
Yeah.
But it only takes one or two to turn that in. People go down there with the best of intentions. Maybe January 6th in America was a good indication of that, of how all it takes is the spark. And then you get people suddenly going like, why am I pissing in Nancy Pelosi's office?
Yeah. And didn't your man who organised it there on Saturday disappear in a taxi?
Oh yeah, in a taxi with Gay Pride sign on the side, which was awesome.
Oh, that must have gone down well with him.
Brilliant. And so after that, obviously, Suella's now been sacked.
Hey,
she's gone, and we've got a brand spanking new Home Secretary now, haven't we?
Yeah, he's a lieutenant colonel in the Royal Artillery Reserves.
Yeah, no, is he Home Secretary?
Yeah. James Cleverly has taken over the role.
So what's Cameron brought in to
Cameron's
do then?
the Foreign Secretary.
Well, so your man, this vaguely familiar-looking interloper, has been brought in. He's Foreign Secretary, isn't he?
Yeah.
The man that did so much for world peace when he was Prime Minister.
And so much for us interacting with other countries as he watched us getting extracted from the EU.
Yeah. What the absolute hell, mate? You know what I mean? What is absolutely going on here, mate? I don't get it.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was a wind-up that was happening on one of the news feeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought there might have been a delay in the pronouncement of what was happening.
Yeah.
And I really did think it was a wind-up that he was back in. Now, of course, he's not an MP, so he gets his lifetime boot into the money pit that is the House of Lords.
Yeah, fast-tracked into the House of Lords because he hasn't got a peerage at the moment.
No, he is now. He is now Lord Cameron of the Sponge or whatever he's calling himself.
Yeah, but that was done overnight. There was none of this.
Yeah, you don't need. Yeah, the king has signed off on it and everything. So people, if you still think we live in a democracy, have a little think about what's happened here. Okay, because we've got a prime minister, who is 2 prime ministers away from the last time anybody voted for the Tory party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it was Johnson that got voted in 2019. He got effed, and then it was Theresa Bombshell. And not sorry. What was Trust the Bombshell. 49 days. So that's 2 prime ministers. So Sunak is the 3rd prime minister, but nobody's actually voted for him other than his own party.
The only thing I think I can say that might be deemed mildly supportive of Cameron is that he's not as much of a right-wing ideologue as the current mob, but he's just as dodgy. Somebody mentioned earlier they've still been questioned over him lobbying for an organisation that he actually worked for and getting paid for it, and it's all sneaky, underhand, typical Tory stuff.
It was deemed he didn't do anything illegal, but that just goes to show how poor the rules and regulations are, and not what he actually did.
There's Evelyn pointing out that Cameron said with regards to Brexit, no matter the result of the vote, I will stay on. And then the day after was like, see ya.
Well, he has had a supporter in Scotland, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, Alex Salmond's come out and supported him.
Yeah, I seen that. That Alex Salmond said that he's welcome back. I said earlier there was I think it was a Daily Record reporter that posted on Twitter, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to take no position on this whatsoever. Is that a Daily Record reporter said it's not surprising that Alex Salmond is welcoming back a political has-been that should have ceased politics at the height and not come crawling back. Please don't come at me. Oh, fuck it, come on. I'm swearing now. Come at me. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. No, Ross, we have to say things, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the Secretary of State for polluting the English waterways and coastal waters. Now, she either resigned or she was sacked, depending on what news feed you want to.
Yeah.
And but if people are wanting to, I don't know, get something for their PhD in psychology or whatever, I would advise you to read Teresa Kufi's resignation letter.
Yeah.
Because according to her letter, she has done wonderful things, both in all the ministerial, nearly got that word out, ministerial roles that she's done, right? Both at the health secretary and for the environment as well. And if you look at the state of the NHS and look at the state of the waterways and coastal waters in the UK, that's how good a job she's done. She has got a PhD. She is a doctor in chemistry, but that didn't give her any right when she was in the NHS role to turn around and say that people could take their families antibiotics, instead of spending money on them. If they live in England, the rest of the UK are more civilized. We don't have to pay for our prescriptions. That's
dangerous stuff, and anyone who has an actual medical doctorate, which neither of us do, would tell you that you do not share medication. That's
I know
bad
that
idea.
even as a former combat medic.
Yeah.
It's drilled into us what we were allowed to do, what not allowed to do, and also what advice we were giving the people that we were giving the medication to.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about the odd ibuprofen that you've got stashed away, like, you know what I mean. But actual prescribed medication, don't share it.
Yeah.
No. If you are going to do it, then keep it quiet and don't tell other people to bloody do it.
Especially when you're in charge of the NHS.
Yeah.
Ross, have you noticed the time, buddy?
I have, mate. We're almost at a time again, man. I can't believe how quick it's gone.
Yeah.
And I've only sworn once, which is phenomenal for the subject matter this week.
Yes, you've been very good, and swearing in context is not a bad thing. I often hear people criticise, if you swear, it shows a lack of communicative skills and stuff like that, which is something you certainly don't lack. So, a swear word in context is just shows that you are interested in what you're talking about.
Yeah, it does. Believe it or not, the research shows that that people that swear generally have a larger vocabulary than those that don't.
Right.
It's a very niche kind of piece of research, and it's not applicable across the board because some people only know swear words. You know what I mean? But
you hunted all your books for that one, didn't you?
Oh, definitely, mate. That's the thing about psychology. You can pretty much find anything to just justify what you want to do.
Love it, Russ. Love it. Right. So we've talked about the Remembrance Month or year or whatever it is the fascists are calling it now.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the reshuffle that was sprung upon us, which was always nice of them. Now, what we're up to? So yes, just getting back to the remembrance side of thing and the non-laughable part of it, which is obviously the rise of the extreme right-wing ultras. Folks, we need to be aware of what's going on. We can no longer be have any form of apathy towards this. We have to, if we don't say anything, if we don't vote for a Scottish independence, then we will get dragged into what Little England is going for. And I've got family and friends down there, and I don't like to see what's happening to that country. I'm half English, so when I'm talking about Little England, I'm on about the people that are running the show down there. It's absolutely scandalous. And what we've seen at the cenotaph, where 9 police officers were injured in the line of duty protecting the cenotaph from the thugs, it's just going to get repeated and amplified. Yeah,
it's the emboldening of them. My worry is as we say, that that the Labour Party is not offering much of an alternative at the moment. They're going Tory light, so Brexit's still going to be a thing. Borders are still going to be an issue. Immigration. In fact, Labour will do what they always do. They will tinker around the edges and do absolutely nothing. Get their snouts in the trough, do a couple of years, then get booted out, and then it's just rinse and repeat, isn't it? That's all that happens. But we have a third option here in Scotland. I'm sorry to say that the polls for the next general election currently not looking brilliant for the Scottish nationalist parties, because maybe they've dragged their feet a little bit. I don't know, but yeah, it has to be independence. It's the only way forward.
Yep.
Barring a drastic change, barring aliens deciding to come down and sort us all out, or or a revolution, or an asteroid, a handy asteroid when you need it.
I think the aliens are deliberately ignoring us.
There is, mate. If you go out a couple of 100 million light years, there's a couple of signs up to say quarantine zone, do not enter.
A very nice comment from Evelyn Hume there, saying we need to up the show to an hour.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're at the mercy of everyone else that wants to get on here, and we do also have proper jobs outside of this as well, which is nice. But thank you, Evelyn. Maybe we'll see how it goes in the future. But thank you.
Very nice.
But we're out of time for tonight. We're going over time. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time again to listen to our inane ramblings. It's always nice.
And there have been some ramblings tonight, buddy. It's been a good one.
So thank you so much, everyone. Please take care. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the people you care about. And we'll catch up the second Monday of the month at 8:00 next month.
Absolutely. Take care, folks.
All the best.
All the best.